The twin sons of Carrion set fire to the horizon as Arun trudged across the dust-blown landing field. He was a mechanic by trade, a wanderer by necessity, taking repair jobs wherever his boots carried him. This outpost was like every other, rusting shacks, fuel drums, and faces half hidden by suspicion. But one face stood out. She sat alone beneath a tattered awning, draped in a heavy cloth though the heat was merciless. Her large violet eyes followed him with quiet desperation. "Human," she whispered as he passed. "Please help me." Arun paused. Something in her voice carried more than hunger or poverty. It carried shame. A stranger in the dust. Her name was Lira. She explained in hesitant words that she needed a small part to fix her transport skimmer, but no trader would sell to her. Arun soon learned why. Whispers around the outpost called her tainted. When he offered to look at her machine, her hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the cloth tighter. "No one must see me," she murmured. "Not fully." Arun only nodded. "A machine doesn't care about faces or secrets. Show me where it is." They worked side by side in the twilight, her voice guiding, his hands steady on rusted bolts. She was clever, more clever than any trader gave her credit for. And yet, each time the wind tugged at her covering, panic flashed across her eyes. The whisper of shame. By nightfall, the skimmer growled back to life. Lyra's relief was short-lived. She pulled her cloth tighter, turned from him, and whispered, "You are kind, but you would turn away too if you saw what lies beneath. My people cast me out. I bear marks that no one should see. They call it a curse." Arun frowned. "A curse is just a name for what others don't understand." But she shook her head. "You don't know. If this cloth falls, you'll see why I hide." Arun didn't press. He only offered to walk her back to the outskirts where she camped. She hesitated, then let him. The cloth falls. The next day brought a storm. Vicious one. Sand howled across the outpost, ripping at awnings, blinding the air. In the chaos, Arun stumbled into her shelter, and the wind tore her cloth away. For the first time he saw. Lyra's skin glimmered faintly with lines of light, jagged across her arms, throat, and cheek like rivers of silver fire beneath her flesh. Beautiful, delicate, alive, and yet her eyes brimmed with tears. "Hide your eyes," she cried, covering herself with shaking hands. "This is my shame. The priests say I carry the memory of a star's explosion, that I'm cursed, unfit to touch, unfit to love." But Arun reached forward and caught her wrists gently. His gaze never wavered. "I see no curse," he said softly. "I see a map of the heavens written on you. You call it shame. I call it beauty." Her breath caught. For the first time no one recoiled. Flight and danger. Their moment was shattered by the growl of engines. Outlaws had come. Bounty hunters who tracked Lira for her rare markings, planning to sell her to collectors. She froze. "They'll take me." Arun grabbed her hand. "Not while I stand." They fled through the storm, the skimmer barely holding together. Shots hissed in the dust, beams slicing the air. In the confusion, Arun steered into the canyon of wrecked hulls where he'd scavenged before. There, hiding between twisted metal, Lira finally spoke her truth. "The marks appeared when I was a child. They said I was touched by destruction. I believed them. I hated myself." Arun's jaw tightened. "Scars, marks, curses. None of that defines you. You kept living. You fixed your own skimmer. You faced a storm. That's what matters." For the first time she smiled through her tears. A choice in the dawn. By dawn, the bounty hunters gave up, unable to track them past the canyons. Exhausted, they returned to the outpost where the traders now looked on with suspicion and curiosity. The cloth was gone, and Lira's luminous skin shimmered openly in the rising light. Arun stood beside her, unflinching. When one trader muttered, "Star-cursed," Arun shot back, "No, Starmark. And if you've got eyes, you'd see it too." Silence followed. The outpost folk, hardened and cynical, had no answer. The ending, from shame to light. That night, Lira sat by the fire outside the repaired skimmer. The desert wind was cooler now, and she no longer hid her glow. She leaned against Arun, whispering, "When the cloth fell, I thought I'd lose the last chance at dignity. Instead, I found someone who saw me differently. You saw beauty where I saw ruin." Arun wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Sometimes it takes another's eyes to remind us who we are. Her shame no longer felt like chains. Felt like light. And for the first time she believed she could belong, not by hiding but by shining. Above them the stars shimmered. Not curses, not scars, but endless beauty. Like the girl by his side, the fire crackled low, its warmth soft against the desert chill. Lira sat beside Arun, her violet eyes reflecting the flames. The cloth she once clung to lay forgotten on the sand, torn and useless. She had spent her whole life hiding behind it, believing her marks made her unworthy of kindness, let alone love. Now she felt none of that weight. Not while Arun's arm rested steady around her shoulders. "When the cloth fell," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I thought it would be the end. I thought you would turn away like all the others. But you didn't." Arun's gaze met hers, calm and unwavering. "You've been told lies your whole life. They called it a curse, but I see it for what it is. The light in you was never something to hide." Her chest tightened, but it wasn't from fear anymore. It was from hope. The silver trails on her skin pulsed softly, as though answering his words, as though they had been waiting for someone to see them not as ruin but as beauty. Around them, the desert stretched endless and quiet. Above, the stars burned bright, the same stars her people once told her had scarred her. Yet tonight she didn't see scars. She saw reflections. She saw belonging. She leaned against Arun, her head resting over his heartbeat. "You've given me back more than freedom. You've given me myself." He smiled faintly, pulling her close. "And you've given me something I didn't know I was missing." Together they watched the sky. Not a curse, not a shame, just light. And for the first time, Lira let herself shine.